Give me your winner, Breach.
My winner for kind of day two, I guess, is that what we're doing? It's the Houston Texans. Look, we kind of Sully started to refer to this earlier. I had to put the muzzle on him because I didn't want him to give away my winner. Look, they've added Danielle Hunter. And the thing is, real quick, is that we talked about them last year as a winner. And I know Brent and I were big on in August. They were like plus 1,000. It was just sprinkle a little on the Texans just because they made so many smart free agent moves. And as CJ Stroud just ends up being kind of good, they could compete in the AFC South. And that's exactly what happened. And now it is crazy how good this defense has gotten just in the past 24 to 36 hours. They signed Danielle Hunter, as we said. We all thought that's an upgrade over Jonathan Grenard. Danico Autry, they got him. They got Aziz Al-Shaair. They got Noah Brown. They got one of the best punters in the NFL. They signed Tommy Townsend. And so the way they've upgraded that roster is pretty amazing. And so I have to think this team is going to be the favorites going in the AFC South going into 2024. And they've impressed me with what they've done in the past 24 hours. Sully?
How about you, Sully?
I'm going to go with, and this one, again, I keep going off the wall with these, but I will. I think it's going to be Washington's, whoever they pick at the number 2 overall.
I said Colby Parkinson.
I guess that's true, right? So I guess I could say pretty much anything at this point, and it'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Washington's rookie quarterback. Whoever they pick at number 2, I think is a winner here for the reason of them signing Marcus Mariota. I think he's a great teammate. He has a very unique perspective that I think they'll be able to tap into. Being a former number 2 overall pick, handed the keys to a franchise to be the starting quarterback. I think that Washington is actually really setting themselves up to have success with whoever they pick, whether it's Jaden Daniels or Drake May. You bring in a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, a great offensive mind. I think Dan Quinn's a good player's head coach. And now you bring in a guy who, by all intents and purposes, is a great guy in Marcus Mariota. If you watch any of those quarterback documentaries on Netflix, seems like a down-to-earth dude. He's not gonna go in there and expect to be the starting quarterback. That's gonna probably be more Sam Howell than anything else. He won't be miffed, but he will be the ideal sounding board for any one of those players. Again, Daniels or May, that they bring in to say, hey, what happens? How do I prepare for a week? How do I prepare to be this franchise savior? He's going to have a unique perspective that I thought is going to go a little underrated for this signing going to Washington with Mariota.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The sort of chatter out there and Drake May's, I don't want to suggest Drake May's really mobile. If he can throw on the run, he's actually a really great passer on the run. So I don't know that this is necessarily true, but I can see connect the dots where, all right, you have Cliff Kingsbury who worked with Kyler Murray at multiple spots, right? Or I think, didn't he work with him? Yeah, he worked with him. Or Cliff Kingsbury loved Kyler Murray, right? And then they worked with him in Arizona, obviously. You have Mariota, who's like a very mobile quarterback. Is that setting them up to go with Jaden Daniels at number 2? I don't know that it necessarily does, just because I do think that Drake May is still a very mobile quarterback and very dangerous. But I thought it was kind of interesting, and I agree with you. They're going to take a quarterback at 2. That's happening. It's just a matter of which one it is.
And I think Mariota is a great sounding board.
Yep, absolutely. Breaking quarterback news.
Ooh.
Get Chris Trapasso on this podcast right now. The Tennessee Titans have agreed to a 1-year, this is from Mike Garafolo of NFL Media, a 1-year deal worth up to $3.62 million with Mason Rudolph.
Ooh.
That didn't really get to the juices flowing. I'll say my winner is Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I know we talked about the offensive line. But I was writing about the Ravens earlier today. The article was up on CBSSports.com, and there's a lot of response when I was talking about Derek. Obviously, Derek Henry, the Ravens, everybody was I got really amped up. But there was a whole lot of people who were he's washed, he's old, it's not going to work. Same stuff you heard with Eckler. Look, he led the league in carries 4 out of the last 5 years. Now, he was down to 4.2 yards per carry last season, and he had I think just under 1,200 yards. But he only had, I believe, 240 carries, which is remarkable that led the league. There just weren't a lot of bell cows in the league. And really the only 2 times that you've seen him have a bad year He had 380 something carries in 2020, and then got injured. Actually had like a ton of carries earlier in the year, and they just misused. They just misjudged the usage there. And then 2 years ago, he had 340 carries, I think, and you saw the yards per carry drop. But also the Titans' offensive line went to crap, and they didn't have any quarterback play. And like you can't run with Derrick Henry like that when you're trailing and you're constantly putting Tajay Spears out there and you're throwing the ball, you got rookie quarterbacks. Like it wasn't set up to win with Derrick Henry. If the Ravens are right about these offensive linemen that they drafted, and the Ravens are really good about identifying their own talent in-house and are really good about developing talent, and so maybe they just know what they're doing. They're good basically every year. And these guys can run block, and the Ravens have a lead constantly. Derrick Henry could destroy this year, and that benefits Lamar Jackson in a huge way.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. He was an awesome signing. I push back on the fact that they say he's washed. He might be washed in like year 2 of the deal, but for a single season, I think you're going to get a lot of the normal Derrick Henry.
The only thing I would say about that, because I almost listed the Ravens as my loser, is that we talked about I didn't, but we talked about the offensive line. There's a lot of questions there. And the other part is that there's going to be high expectations. They just went to the AFC title game. Everybody thinks that Derrick Henry is this move that puts him over the edge. Now, if you get to the playoffs and lose in the wild card round or don't get back to the AFC title game, is that Lamar Jackson's fault? Is that Derrick Henry? It's going to be Lamar Jackson's fault.
Or miss the playoffs.
Or miss the playoffs. So it puts a lot of pressure on them. Like, I agree with what you're saying, Briston. I just think it puts a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. And like, also, like, let's note that, this is a team that defensively, they signed Madubuike. They still have Roquan Smith. They still have Marlon Humphrey. They still have Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton. They got a lot of good players, but they lost their defensive coordinator. I think people are really high on Zach Orr. I think he's going to do a great job. But Patrick Queen bounces. Jadeveon Clowney probably bouncing. Like, there's a lot of guys. Geno Stone. There's a lot of guys who had really good years that – so you have a first-time defensive coordinator with new pieces and a lot of guys who left from a top defense. I mean, totally fair. And like, if the Ravens defense is somehow not good, which I think is probably unlikely, but if it's not good and the Ravens are like trailing in games and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, it's going to be problematic. So that's a very fair point. All right, give me a loser, Sully.
I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I mean, it's kind of it compacts over the full legal tampering period because Kirk Cousins was day 1, Sam Darnold was day 2, but this dude woke up over the 48 hours and Sam Darnold is now his quarterback at the moment. And he's somebody who, as we mentioned, I think we mentioned it yesterday, he was somebody that was saying, I kind of want to see what happens at quarterback before I even want to deal with my contract extension. I don't know if you feel confident looking at Sam Darnold saying, you know what, he's going to be the guy throwing me the football when I'm trying to make all this money. He's going to get paid regardless. But boy, if he is someone who's talked about being on a Hall of Fame trajectory, Sam Darnold throwing you the football is not going to help you get to the Hall of Fame. It's just not going to. And it's not going to help you win football games. And I know they might draft a quarterback, but boy, it's quickly turned into not a great situation for Justin Jefferson, to the point now where there's like reports that they're saying the Vikings are definitely still not going to trade him. The fact that we're even talking about that for the best receiver in football is pretty jarring.
Yep. And that is, look, if you're Justin Jefferson, do you even want to be in Minnesota? You haven't gotten your extension, right. So they're playing hardball there. And you're thinking, I don't have a quarterback there. I don't have money or the quarterback. So, I mean, that seems like a double negative or definitely two things you don't like, a double whammy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Double whammy. I thought about, what did you think about the chart? I have no interest in fading Jim Harbaugh this year or in this offseason. So I don't like call the Chargers losers, but you just lost Austin Eckler. You added Gus Edwards, which I like Gus Edwards, but I mean, he's a physical runner, but Greg Roman knows him really well, and so there's all kinds of reasons that works. But the running back room is now like Gus Edwards, Isaiah Spiller, Elijah Dotson, and Jarrett Patterson. I really like Jarrett Patterson, but I'm not blown away by that running back room. And this is gonna be a Greg Roman like theoretically run first offense. You lose Mike Williams, and you have to restructure Khalil Mack to keep him. And I thought this was an interesting tweet from ESPN Jeremy Fowler, our buddy and former colleague. 2 noteworthy days for the suddenly cap compliant Chargers. Friday, Joey Bosa's $7 million roster bonus due. Sunday, Keenan Allen's $5 million roster bonus due could trigger some action urgency if a team wants to entertain Los Angeles in a potential trade. You know, they got cap compliant, but they still have 2 of the 10 biggest cap hits in the league. And actually, maybe even still 3 with Khalil Mack, I mean, depending on what it actually ends up being when we see the deal. So, I don't think it's possible the Chargers are not done moving guys. And if you lose Austin Eckler, you lose Mike Williams, you lose one of Joey Bosa and Keenan Allen, or both of them. You know, your team this stacked roster that Jim Harbaugh is coming into suddenly, it looks a little less sexy.
I mean, if you want to get even more specific, Justin Herbert's the loser in that. I mean, I was talking about Justin Jefferson, looking up, and all of a sudden your quarterback's Sam Darnold. You're Justin Herbert. You look up, Austin Eckler's gone, Keenan Allen could be gone, and Mike Williams is gone. I mean, that's like 90% of your target share right there. So what? Oh, you're really excited about Quentin Johnston? Like,
hey, as Greg Roman said, they're going to run the ball. So
yeah,
they're going to run the ball because they have to.
But it's like, are you going to give Gus Edwards 290 carries and just like dink and dunk to Keenan Allen and talk? I mean, it's really good if the defense is good. Like, look, I cannot stress enough. I never doubt Jim Harbaugh and his ability to win. He wins everywhere he goes. I think he'll win with the Chargers, but I think it's fair that, and I actually had Justin Fields written down originally, but then I realized you did Justin Fields yesterday. And I do think
he's still Fields are like,
yeah, dude, like, what? Is he going to be on the Bears next year?
Guys, there are other players in the NFL who are not named Justin. Sully's loser is Justin Jefferson. Brinson went from Justin Fields to Justin Herbert. Literally the only 3 Justins in the league.
And my winner was like the Ravens with Justin Madubuike, who we talked about. So yeah. Well, we are just in time to get out of here.
Well, I got to get my loser.
Show. Dang it, who's your loser?
On kind of Sully's note, my loser is just overall the wide receivers.
Guys named Justin.
As our wide receivers as free agents. I mean, they have not been able to get anything done. Yes, we did see Michael Pittman get that extension, but Justin Jefferson is frustrated. T. Higgins is demanding a trade. And when you look at the overall free agent market, I mean, the biggest contract that's been given out went to Gabe Davis, $13 million a year. I think Darnell Mooney also got $13 million a year, but that's it. As far as free agents go, no one else has reached even double digits in average annual value. It kind of feels like running backs last year where the market has just gone stagnant. Maybe Mike Williams changes that. Or maybe he takes a flyer, 1-year prove-it deal, doesn't get the big numbers that he's looking for. But the wide receiver market, I think the receivers are not getting the numbers or the interest they thought they would. And a big part of that is because the draft is loaded. And the teams just don't feel like they're not going to overpay for receivers when you have this loaded up a draft.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the cause of it is, from every account, it's a loaded draft with wide receivers. That's got to have an impact somewhere. So you can get them cheaper, get them younger over there. Why wouldn't you do that?
No, I mean, look, it's not even by all accounts. Like, this is a loaded wide receiver draft. There are, there's you hear the talk of the 8 guys in the first round. I think that's probably a bit of a stretch, just because there are other positions that teams need. And I think a lot of teams say, "Oh, I get a good guy in the second round. Maybe some guys move down." But I mean, like, there are 10 maybe not number 1 wide receivers, but 10 guys who could end up being something, in that range if everything breaks right, and 3 or 4 just elite superstar wide receivers. So yes, I think you actually see the converse thing too, is that this is a bad running back draft. There are not a lot of running backs in this draft, and as a result, there's a pretty good market for all these running backs. Like, they all found homes pretty quickly and got, they didn't get huge money for running backs, but you got decent deals considering the veteran nature of all these guys. So I would agree with that, Breach. But obviously a wide receiver named Justin Jefferson.